Welcome to the Spike Feed, your leading Magic the Gathering podcast. What is up? My name is Curtis, and I'm just your typical Spike. On the line with me, looking very dapper this morning for an early recording, is my good buddy Cameron McCoy. What's up, man?
Not a lot, man. How are you?
Fantastic. It's been a Magic-centric week for me.
Good.
So we got a lot to talk about. There's a new metagame. I want to just touch on some Puca Trade stuff. In our main segment, but we are going to be slightly quicker this week than usual because of some work considerations for you.
Sure.
But let's start with you, man. Like, what did you do regarding Magic this week? Because I know, like, this is your time where it's the blitz is on, where you're working
yeah.
insane weeks and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of traveling, a lot of going different places and work. So not a lot of time for Magic. In fact, this week I had a choice between going to Star Trek with my wife or playing in a sealed tournament with Eldrick Moon. I chose Star Trek, so I betrayed the podcast.
Review at the end of the segment.
Yeah, we'll review that. But so anyway, I really, really wanted to play some sealed. It just did not work out with my schedule. However, after the movie, I stopped at the shop, was just kind of looking at, like, Jeff Hoogland had just posted, or I'm sorry, Star City had just posted Jeff Hoogland's deck list for Blue-White Spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm jumping on the bandwagon, right? Like, I had my rattle chains, I had a couple other things for, like, all the spells, and I thought it was really interesting. I just needed all the creatures, so went to the shop and just picked up my spell quellers, Selfless Spirits, and the Mausoleum Wanderers, and hopefully we'll build something up and we'll play this in Standard next week on Friday night, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm really curious to see how well Jeff does in the tournament. I mean, obviously it's recording Sunday. I don't even know what his record is right now, but the deck is that's one thing I love about Jeff's decks, is that he is always the first one to try something new. It seems we're always the most experimental, and this just seems to be right up my alley and perfect. So this is what I'll be playing, I think, next week, is the Blue-White Spirits deck, pretty much exactly what Jeff Hoogland has.
So you saw it in text. You haven't actually seen it play?
No, I just watched the he had the deck tech I just watched on YouTube. Yeah.
It's good. It's for real.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm in love with his build of it, but certainly he's probably tested it more than I have.
Yeah.
I'm just a talk box spouting off, like, based on the list. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But do you have the
just so
Avacens
many
and stuff?
things. Yeah, that's the one thing I am missing, is I have one Avacen, and it's like, do I bite the bullet and get more? Because she does seem to be kind of like an integral part of the deck. It's just, do I want to drop $90 on 3 more Avacens, right? But I just love that interaction of, like, what you can do with, like, Planner Outburst and your Selfless Spirit, and, like, those sorts of synergies just seem super good. So I'd love to have a better Wrath than a giant, like 5-mana Wrath, but whatever. It's what we get now.
It's what we get, dude. And there are some decks that just get completely blown out. Spell Queller is a card that I aggressively went after. So Friday night, I did trade quite a lot. That was, like, the main focus on my deep and dark search for pack foil Thalias. But no, I mean, I'm trying to put together, like, I have Human Collected Company, and Tamios seem like they're a bit overpriced, but the Thalias I was fine with, getting at for $8. But I also, picked up a little bit here, a little bit there, of the new stuff. And Spell Queller was the one that everybody seemed to be after, right? It's the card du jour. But what's interesting is, I mean, I feel like it's Spirits and it's Band Company, and then everything else, like, you're not going to use it. So I don't know why so many people were kind of hoarding them. Maybe they just project it as something that they're going to use long term. I don't know.
Sure.
But no, the Spirits deck it's for real, man. Feel good about that investment.
Yeah. It looks fun. That's all I want. So yeah.
I mean, well, it's fun for you. We'll say that. Whenever you're spell quellering things, like, man, especially in multiples. Now, again, against the control deck, and there is a green-black Delirium deck, the spell queller thing is not nearly as good as it is against, like, the Band Company decks.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a good time. So I mean, that's what you were doing. You just showed up, just like put your big rubber band of cash on the table, and
Wad of cash down on the table and said, "I want that, that, and that," and just went with it, right?
Cameron,
So
I really think you should invest some money on a hashtag baller tattoo.
yeah, yeah. I guess I could.
When I think baller, I think of Cameron.
Mm.
Really, you should guest star with Dwayne Johnson in that program. So let me start. I have a lot to talk about this week. So I want to start with modern because that's where my week started. So my Monday stream was a complete train wreck. Here's what happened, and I think you were watching it, right?
I hopped on for I think one match and watched. Yeah.
Oh, bro. So here's what happened. So this is not an excuse, but I did the whole thing where like our kid didn't sleep very well the night before. I was like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm fine. Just have some caffeine. I'm fine. And I misclicked. Now some of it was also just MTGO interface stuff. Leon and Arbiter. I was just stunned that it worked a certain way, right?
I saw that, and it was amazing to watch you go almost full tilt
Yeah,
on
I was
on
tilted.
camera. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
tilted, and so I was having a horrible tournament. Lost to some misclicks, some misplays, some horrible punts, and then in my fourth round, my power and internet just die. Like I'm like 4 turns into the Jund matchup, and it just dies, and I just
Oh.
stood there in my computer like this dark room. We heard Simon and Garfunkel in the back, right? And it was just brutal. So what happened was, on Thursday, I resolved to play Modern again because Eldritch Moon is not on MTGO. Thursdays I usually play Standard, but I was just like, I want to get this taste out of my mouth, this bad taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I played it to a 4-1 finish, and a lot of that had to do with me being more awake and playing better, right? But the Nahiri Jeskai deck is the deck. It's my modern deck right now. It's the one I'm after. I'm also aggressively seeking Nahiri's in paper, and
Sure.
this is the deck I'm going to play. There is a PTQ today for modern that I would probably have to play Storm. Grixis I'm a little bit down on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with the PTQ is my parents need to get picked up from the airport today, and so
Hmm.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
little.
can't you just hire an Uber to pick up your parents and
I don't know
then?
why they can't hire an Uber. Like, what am I, right? What am I? So, anyway, so that was modern. So we also need a hotline, Cameron, that I can call you.
Okay.
Okay. And whenever I say flashback draft, I want to do some flashback drafting. You need to say, Curtis, no. Hang up the phone. Sign out of Magic Online. M10 was this week.
But do I see? I want you to play this stuff. I would be a horrible call a friend.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
M10 is a set that I have a real attachment to. It's the first set that I seriously drafted competitively. Okay.
Okay.
Um, I played competitive Magic like in the late 90s, left for like 8 years or whatever that was, and then came back and right around Alara block, but I didn't start drafting until M10 and start taking
Okay.
it seriously and listening to drafts stuff and all this. And my record in these single elimination flashback drafts has got to be something like 0 and 12, like just outrageous. So my first opponent, this is core set to the max, right? There's nothing really intriguing. My first opponent double pyroclasms me. He has double pyroclasm in his limited deck, right? And I'm playing like White Weenie.
Okay.
And then next game I mulligan to 5, out, right? Out. And I'm like, that's okay.
Oh.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm not in this for value. There's nothing really of value in M10, right? There's like,
Sure.
so I'm just doing it to like shred ticks or whatever. Next match, guy has mono black in limited, and I thought because he plays this like I can't remember what the cards. It's a horn of something, but basically every time he plays a black spell, he gains a life. That was his turn 2 play, and I'm like,
Oh.
this guy's an
Okay.
amateur. This will be fine. And then nope, double nightmare, and which is a flying power and toughness equal to the number of swamps you control.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guided 2/7/7 flying nightmares. Like it was just like, that was the third nightmare occurred in my head, right? And I just thought, man, what is the deal with this? I don't feel like I play badly. I just have a wretched record, and I'm so hung up on the fact that it's single elimination, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then lastly, I played at the shop some Eldritch Moon, and it was triple Eldritch Moon, which is not what you're supposed to draft.
yeah.
And I like the set a lot. I didn't have a great draft because it was this weird store draft. I don't know if you have this experience at your stores where people just draft craziness, and you end up
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
so like this is a 7-man pod. One person in my pod decided to go 4 colors.
Yep.
Okay. And then another guy, so I end up in green white because I feel like that's what's open, but I have these weird packs where it's like, oh, this is a bomb, and then the next pack there's nothing for me, and on and on
Mm-hmm.
and on. And one guy tells me, um, I only drafted the Hamlet captains, which are the 2/2 green white enablers that like pump other humans when they attack. So
Okay.
he didn't draft any green card except for the Hamlet captains. It's like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I had some great matches. I actually had a really good experience with the limited format, even though I didn't have a great record. I did one of those things where I actually won half of my games, but I
Hmm.
went 1-2 instead of 2-1. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was kind of one of those. But
So I have a really quick question
mhm,
for you. Just as far as like this limited format, the one thing that just doesn't seem to jive for me is the fuse cards, or not the fuse cards, but
the meld.
I don't. Yeah, the meld cards. Um, did that mechanic? Did you see that mechanic? And if you did it actually work in limited, or is this just kind of like a standard thing?
I I I know that somebody had the common pairing,
Mm-hmm.
the chittering host, graph rats, but I never saw it meld together. That never
Yeah.
happened. The
Okay.
flip synergies. I mean, kind of just like how we felt with Megamorph around Dragons of Tarkir. Like the flips thing, I'm just kind of done with. I get
Sure.
it. I mean, I'm fine with that staying on like mythic cards, but having to know the front and back sides of cards all the time, I find to be kind of obnoxious. Maybe I'm just an old man,
Sure.
But I'm
I
like
can
back.
see like in a like a tournament setting that doesn't seem like the most fun thing to
Yeah,
do,
you're
right? To have
constantly
to.
like
Yeah.
grabbing your opponent's card. Hey, dude, and then you have to look on the back and be like, okay, and then you have to keep double checking it just to remember like how he can transform it, blah blah blah. So I don't know. I feel like because we're not going to get a core set again, I don't get that kind of nice palate cleanser, right?
For sure, right?
But anyway, the strength of this format, I think, lies in the card I'm posting here, which is Niblis of Frost. So this card is a bomb unlimited. It's bananas, but you have to kind of build around it. My last opponent wrecked me with this card. He played it on turn 4 both times. And it's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can tap a creature an opponent controls and it doesn't untap.
Hmm.
And like wrecked me. Like I had no shot, right? And then the other match that I lost to a Hanweir Garrison, the one that makes more humans. Like opponent just had that plus a removal spell and wrecked me.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I really for whatever reason liked it better than um, Shadows Limited.
Whoa. Whoa. That's that's hard to swallow, man. I don't
it,
know if I agree with that.
it's hard to put my finger on why.
Uh-huh.
But it's true. I found that there was a ton of variation in the decks, and I really don't like the werewolf mechanic in limited. I think it
Yeah.
punishes the things that it shouldn't. But no, really high on this. I don't know if I'll have a ton of time to draft it when it's on Magic Online. But also the problem that I have with drafts is just the amount of time. Like I feel like I'm just going to play more sealed leagues than anything.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting format for sure. So, dude, let's get out of this segment. Let's come back talk about the new format and just a few little odds and ends about Puca Trade that I want to go over. All right, Cameron. So let's talk new metagame. You saw the Spirits deck and you were like, "Oh snap, I gotta play that deck," right?
It was a snap by. Yeah.
And even if though it's the new hotness, you were still like, I mean, not spending a ton of money on this, right? Like standard is incredibly affordable.
Yeah. Other than like the Avacins, I mean, like, well, yeah, I got my spell quellers for like $11, which if it's a card that goes up, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm totally fine spending $11, and if they go below 10, I can try to sell them, and I don't feel like I'm totally out of money, right?
Right. Right. And for me the thing is like it's really easy for me to feel like a card with that power level Even though something like Thought Not Seer, I don't remember what it pre-sold for, but it's probably lower than that now. But if you
Mm-hmm.
played Thought Not Seer this entire time and you played it in modern, you got your money's worth back out of it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
hard to define the dollar amount that you get out of by playing something, but that's how I feel about Thalia. Like, okay, sure, it'll go down, whatever. I have them,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna use them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but so the Star City Games Open this weekend has been incredibly watchable. So first of all, Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan are on the call, and oh man, that's just like uh, Oreo cookies, like the double stuff with a big mug of like whole milk, and you're just there, you're loving it, right?
Right. Yeah. They're like your favorite buddy cop movie, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
just yeah.
yeah, they are Mel Gibson when Mel Gibson was charming, right? You're just, oh man, this is wonderful. I love
Yeah.
me some Mel Gibson, and then you find out he's the worst person ever. This is a horrible analogy. Those
Yeah.
guys are
Let's
probably great, but the point is, the coverage has been great, and I felt so gratified because I feel like our metagame analysis that you and I cooked up was really strong. We talked about a lot of those things, and right out of the chute, first match, Green Black Delirium versus Blue Red Eldrazi.
mm-hmm.
And the Blue Red Eldrazi deck looked great. I don't know that it's had the record over the course of, but I think we got a message through the site. I got messaged privately about different lists for Blue Red Eldrazi. So I think a lot of people are passionate about that deck, and I think one of the main reasons is it's affordable and it's probably very good at a lot of metas, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
The
It has legs.
it has legs. The mono white humans deck is everything that you think it is. It still exists. It's still super obnoxious and quite good. Um, but I think we have to talk about Bant Company, not Bant Humans. There were certainly some humans decks on
Mm-hmm.
coverage, and certainly we're doing well. But the version of Bant Coco that now plays Spell Queller, um, that's going to be enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
I just want your thoughts on it, man. Like, how are you going to attack that deck as the Spirits player? Or are you going
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just going to have
I,
a
I mean,
hope?
I need to really kind of figure that out. I mean, I think your spell quellers and probably like is it Clash of Wills is probably like your best opportunity to I guess nip those decks in the bud, right? Man, I don't know because you know, you think like Coco into Reflector Mage was good. I think Coco into Spell Queller is insanely good.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a thing. I don't think it's going to be like oppressive by any means. I think there's ways to still deal with it with counter spells and whatnot. But man, yeah, it's going to be a wild deck for sure.
Yeah, and it's also one of those decks that even if it does become oppressive, it's oppressive for like 2 months.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and if you're out there, you really need to start thinking about what deck you're going to play in October. Now, granted, I mean, there's a set that comes out, right? Kaladesh is going to come out with that. Um, but there's a great opportunity here, and I don't. Again, caveat: not a finance guy. I look at this as the perspective of a player that's trying to reduce the amount of money you're spending.
Mm-hmm.
And things like Sylvan Advocate and Thought Not Seer, I was getting, or people were offering to me in trade for next to nothing.
Really?
A bunch of the Battle for Zendikar stuff, uh, that set has a terrible reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Oath. But there's just the opportunity to get some stuff. I mean, Kalidas seems to be, and Gideon seem to be kind of just hovering at their price point. They've dropped slightly. But those are so overtly powerful and in modern decks all the time right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Though I'm still not convinced about Gideon in modern. I think he's fine in tokens. I've seen people play him in control and stuff, and I'm just I think probably old Elspeth's a little bit better. But
I was gonna say I'd always go for Old Elspeth, but I also have a soft spot for that card. I don't know.
yeah, well, it is what it is, right? But the point being is, those are some cards you get something out of right now. Obviously, with the Origins cards, I mean, if you're playing them, great. I think you could maybe argue that Jace is at a low, but he's not seen a lot of modern play lately.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the Spirits deck. There's this green black Delirium deck, which plays Ishikana, which plays Emrakul, or at least the version I saw played Emrakul. I saw Emrakul get cast for 7 mana.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a really cool deck. I'm very concerned about the green black build that's floating around right now, that it's just bad against the Coco matchup, and that kind of needs to get cleaned up. Also on coverage, it was just hot fire against, or just terrible, like I should say a dumpster fire against the blue red Eldrazi deck. But that's because, you're playing a mid-range deck and they're gonna cast a new Lamog. Like you can't win. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm gonna play Bant Humans, which I think is definitely worse than Bant Coco, but I'm not looking to buy, like Flipness and all this stuff. I mean, I have a Spell Queller, and I'm definitely accessing more soon. But I don't know, man. You're gonna have to let me know how the Spirit thing works out for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's more right now. It's the deck that looks the most fun to me, or like really speaks to me. Whether or not it's going to be good, or if I can actually pilot it well, probably not. We'll see. I might go 05, 04, and say this deck is hot garbage going away.
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind the Pro Tour is in a couple weeks. Or wait, is it next week? I can't remember.
Oh,
Like
I
it
don't
usually
remember.
lines up with the Star City Games regionals, but maybe that's not the case. So we'll see. But other thing I want to talk about, Cameron, I'm going to just touch base on Puca Trade.
Okay.
So got into this discussion at the store. I've seen a lot of stuff online. So there's this show online called The Mana Source.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very popular YouTube channel, and he posted a video that was promotional for the Puca Trade. Of course, he discloses at the beginning, we don't need the Counter Strike Go
Yeah.
controversy or anything like that, right? So it's an advertisement, but he talks about using it. And I want to talk about, be very frank about Puca Trade, because I never gotten so much feedback for anything we've ever talked about on the show. And at the shop, I also got a lot of kind of discussion, and people were very like passionate / angry for me even mentioning it,
Okay.
which was kind of strange. But I shouldn't say people. A particular guy, right, was told me, it's a pyramid scheme and it's a scam and all this. So here's what needs to happen. Here's how you should use Puca Trade in my estimation. Don't prioritize getting old cards. Put them on your list. If you get them, great, right? It's a trade service. For those of you who don't know, you put stuff online, you send it out, you get space bucks, and then you can get space bucks back to use on cards that people have to be willing to send you, right? And what happens is, especially in the early days of Puca Trade, there was this kind of mythology of like, oh, you can trade out your draft stuff, like random draft rares, and over time you'll build up and you'll get a Mox Sapphire. Well, that whole thing has to hinge on someone being willing to send you said Mox Sapphire, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And I think my experience has been a lot of people will build up points, and then they have nothing but these high demand legacy cards on there. And then they say, well, nobody sends anything. I'm not getting my Tundra. And there's also been this problem with inflation, that because some of the points have been given out, the point values have kind of like worsened. And so they've addressed this with some online posts. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty. At MTG Price, our good buddy Brian Dale, and they're co-authored. There was another author as well, but they wrote a fantastic, I mean, like an actual legit grown-up article on how to address the inflation stuff, like with real suggestions, with actual economic theory. Like not some of this. I mean, some of the finance writing out there is just the worst, immature silliness. But this is legit. So I don't want to get into any of that. But here's what you need to do, okay? If you're out there, trade into standard stuff on Puca Trade. You get standard stuff so frighteningly fast, right? That it's amazing. Now you might say to yourself, Curtis, I'm not a standard. I'm not into standard. I don't care about standard. I don't get standard stuff. That is how you're going to get your value back out. So you might have to spec a little bit and do things like Thought Knot Seer, where it's like, I think this is going to go up. But you get standard stuff very, very, very quickly. And then if you want old things, like let's say the aforementioned Tundra, trade into standard stuff and then buy list it. Go to your shop and sell it. I know that stinks, and you're going to lose some value in that transaction, but that's how you're going to get your value back out. I've done things like a stack of Hedron Crabs. Like I had 4 Hedron Crabs just sitting around from my old draft stuff. That card's worth like 4 Puca bucks, right?
Nice.
So I just got rid of it, got standard stuff in return. I'm constantly just getting rid of old random stuff and getting standard stuff in return. Even things that, like, I have trouble in my community trading away modern things. Like, people don't want modern stuff. So I can put a single cryptic command on there, get a bazillion Puca points, get the standard stuff that I want, sell it to a store, or turn it into Magic Online ticks. I mean, you just have to do that stuff manually. There,
Mhm.
you can't depend on other people, and I would recommend not letting your points just sit there on Puca Trade. Now, yes, you can do things like you can wait 3 months and hopefully get an Umazawa's Jit. You can you can put on a quote bounty where you say, hey, I'm going to give you X amount of extra points to send me a Jit. Cool, you can play that game if you want. I don't have a paid membership on Puca Trade. I'm all about velocity when I'm talking about trading and just getting cards to turn over and turn over and turn over. And I have no problem getting standard stuff. And I've built more standard value and traded and built up my collection that way. And it's been great. And because I've had those standard cards, I'm able to leverage them into modern cards, which has worked out.
That's awesome.
So again, don't buy into this like you're gonna get a Black Lotus by turning in all your Lorwyn rares. Like, okay, that's not necessarily what's gonna happen. Okay,
Yeah,
so just be realistic about it. And yeah, I mean, obviously you can use the site in other ways, but if you are just really about acquiring things, do it that way, right? But like even modern stuff like Logic Knot, which is a common. I'm trying to think of other kind of mid-range moderns, like a Sacred Foundry. I've
Mhm.
not had anybody send me one, you know. I think
Yeah.
I'm too low on points now, but I had it on there for like 3 months. But as soon as I put on anything standard, like Goblin Dark Dwellers, I got within like an hour.
Nice.
You know, so you just have to be realistic about that kind of thing. So, Cameron, you just use your big wads of cash
That's right, man.
to buy cards. What do you do? Do you trade actively at the store?
I trade a little bit here and there. I do sometimes. Dustin would kill me. I think you would probably kill me as well. Most of the listeners would. I'll just take like a stack of cards that I'm not playing, and if I see a card in the case at my shop, I'll normally just trade a few cards here and there to get that right. So I mean, I know I'm not getting like the most value out of those cards, but most of the time I'm just opening up packs and it's just sitting there. I don't have to go through the trouble of having to mail them or do anything like that. My schedule doesn't really allow for that. So it's just easier to just instant demand, trade these cards away, pick up this one card, and now I can play some Magic.
Oh, dude, you
So
can tell Dustin's on the show because I feel like there's nothing wrong with buy listing cards if you get the right deal.
yeah.
And especially EDH cards, I've buy listed like crazy, or Puka traded like crazy because, you know, obviously I don't have like things like Lurking Predators. I think I mentioned that before. It's like a trash rare from M10. It's in like every green commander deck. You find out it's worth something from the store on Puka Trade, you just get rid of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and whenever you buy list to the store, especially in your case, when your store is really community oriented and really supports your player base, there's nothing wrong with them making a profit off of you. There's
I
nothing wrong
totally
with you
agree.
supporting them that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're getting something in return. It's all just cardboard, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
sorry, now I'm getting all existential. It's meaningless, man. It's just cardboard, man.
The value of cash is really just.
Yeah, right, right. But no, especially if it's a store you like, you know,
Yeah,
whenever it's a store owner I dislike, I'm much less likely to buy list to you.
for
So
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, okay, Cameron, let's get out of this segment. We just want to talk some Star Trek Beyond, some new Justice League stuff. We're going to be very quick. Again, this is a slightly condensed show because of your work schedule. So we're going to come right back, talk about that stuff after this. All right, welcome back. So this is our pop culture segment, Pop Culture in a Flash, right? And Cameron, you got to see the new Star Trek, man. How was it?
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if people who listen know just how near and dear Star Trek is to my heart. It's like the
You
one
love it.
show that I got, growing up. So just was raised on the Next Generation in the original series, and then through middle school, high school, watched Voyager, Deep Space Nine. So just love the show, love the movies.
Can I give an anecdote about how much you love Star Trek?
Yeah, man.
So Cameron, I tried to convince for like years and years to play Minecraft, to check it out. He would not do it. Finally, one time he checked it out and he's like, you know what's great? I got to start to rebuild the Star Trek Enterprise in it. Like that was his first thing to do in Minecraft was build the Enterprise. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, yeah. It was great, man. So yeah, the new Star Trek movie, directed by Jason Lin. Is that his name? I can't remember his name now, but anyway,
I think it's Justin Lin.
Justin Lin. There we go. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's crazy how much this just felt like a really high budget Star Trek television episode, just kind of plucked from like the middle of the series, and here it is, right? And and you just watch a really fun, enjoyable movie. There's so many things about this that I love. The idea that uh, you have an unlimited budget for a Star Trek movie now,
Hmm.
in comparison to like what you had back in the 80s and 90s, and you can make it a fun action film. You can still have like the interesting, quirky dynamics between characters, and I felt like they kind of hit all of that perfectly. Um, there's like this Yorktown space station that looks like it's something out of Mass Effect. It's this giant
Hmm.
space station city thing that was so cool. It's like, yes, this is the future. We're kind of in like a new utopia with a federation and everybody working together. And like that just like scratched this itch for me where it's like, yeah, man, like this is exactly what I've always wanted as far as like a futuristic sci-fi movie of people exploring the galaxy. Um, yeah, there's like some little things here and there that I didn't really like about the movie,
Hmm.
um, little hangups, but overall, I thought that this was actually, in a lot of ways, I think this director did a better job servicing these characters than I would argue J.J. Abrams did. Where I always thought like J.J. Abrams took like these classic Star Trek characters and just kind of made them tropes. Like, oh, I know what Scotty does, and he has that one line, and look, there's Sulu with a sword because that's what Sulu is, right?
Right, right.
Whereas this was very much, I felt like everybody was fleshed out much better than I've seen in the other movies, where they actually felt like real characters having relationships on this ship going on a 5-year mission. So overall, totally recommend it. I think you should go see it. It's not amazing by any, it's not like great cinema, like in like high concept wise, but it's still just a really fun movie, which was more than I expected. So great movie.
Yeah, dude, I Friday my wife and I were considering playing uh or not playing, watching Star Trek or Ghostbusters, and we ended up not going to the movies at all and just working around the house. So I neither movie, like in terms of the previews, have really engaged me to take my whole
Mhm.
family to. This is a weird question to ask, but do you think a 9-year-old would be okay with watching Star Trek, the new film, or
She might be bored in some parts, I think.
okay? Yeah,
Where I don't know. Yeah,
I
and
was like,
I question whether or not like Ghostbusters is appropriate for a 9-year-old because there are some like intense, scary parts. But
oh, she saw the preview and was like, nope, not seeing that. I
okay,
was like,
okay,
okay,
yeah,
well, that's fine.
yeah.
Um, I just want to mention a couple things before I talk about the main thing I wanted to discuss here. So I want to see Star Trek. I'm excited to see it. Um, I did see Spotlight. It's on Netflix. You had totally pushed on me that I needed to check that film out. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Infuriating. Maybe the greatest horror film of all time. Uh, as a parent, you watch it and you're like, what? You just can't even believe. I mean, I knew a little bit of that story, but
Uh-huh.
can we all just agree that Michael Keaton is a national treasure and should be in everything, right? Like,
He's so good.
he
Yeah.
is
Yeah, man.
so good and so understated. And I also felt like it was a slight career rescue for Rachel McAdams after True Detective
Mm,
season 2, which was bad.
yeah. Yeah.
So I did. I kind of want to wrap this up and all this kind of in one talk about uh, DC stuff. So I know we've been super negative. I would love to tell you that trend's going to change. I did finally watch Batman versus Superman last night, and I have no words, man. I'm just so horrified. And the main reason I finally pulled the trigger, pulled off the band-aid, whatever, of watching it was the Justice League preview from San Diego Comic-Con and the Wonder Woman preview from Comic-Con came out. And I just can't emphasize enough. So I feel like those two previews are symptomatic of the same problem. They are slightly better in terms of quality and positivity and presentation and all those things. And I hope that they are good. But they still just all feel so reactionary and so rushed and weird. Like, how are they making all these movies so quickly and that they're good? That is like should be a real indication of a problem,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, Marvel does it, so we should be able to do it too, right?
Yeah, and same with Star Wars. But like, here's the thing. So first of all, there is obviously a plan, and the new Doctor Strange preview looked sick. I don't know if you saw
Oh, I
that.
haven't seen it yet. I need to watch that.
Pushing all the right buttons, right?
Okay.
But I watched the Justice League preview, and I was like, okay, so now we're making a lot of jokes.
Yeah, the
Okay,
tone is a 180 from
the tone is a 180, which
yeah.
okay, weird, but maybe that's what you feel like doing. And Justice League is not as tongue in cheeky as the Avengers, you know.
Yeah.
And then the Justice League, like the setup for the preview or the setup for the trailer is that Bruce Wayne is going around asking these other people to be in the Justice League. But then, like, so I watched it, I was like, okay, well, that was better than I thought. Okay, we'll see. But then something was really sticking in my craw about it. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why is he going around as Bruce Wayne telling people that he's Batman to join the Justice League? Why is he not Batman in those scenes? Right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and by the way, so like the difference between this and the like this the speed at which the Star Wars movies are coming out, or the Marvel movies, it should be pointed out. So the Marvel movies have like jogged into this pace, right? It wasn't like all of a sudden, hey, 3 movies this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Star Wars, guys, the plan for this has been cooking up at Disney probably long before they ever bought them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't drop $1 billion without a plan, right? You don't just like, let's just buy Star Wars and see what happens. This has been a very structured thing for a long time. And say what you will about Disney as a company, they are a company that has a very strong plan in mind for the things that they do. And if it doesn't work, they will have no compunction about killing something quickly in its sleep, like they did with Disney Infinity. Like, I mean,
yeah.
they want things to be exact. And if you've ever been to a Disney park, this should not be a shock to you, right? Whereas Warner Brothers, I don't even know what they're doing. And like the Wonder Woman's trailer, I thought was a mess. Like it just felt like it's Captain America 1, right?
Yeah, I would say I have some hope for the Wonder Woman trailer. I mean, I think she looks good. The action looked okay. Like there's certain things that I'm okay with, but it definitely felt like, yeah, like, hey, we have our hero put in a different time frame, just like Captain America, you know? And so once again, very much reactionary to what Marvel's doing.
Yeah. And it feels like they have no plan. It feels like they just, okay, well, everybody said that Man of Steel, we killed too many people at the end, so let's make that the beginning of the next one. And then everybody said Batman v Superman was too dark, so let's do it this way. And I mean, Batman v Superman is such a mess, like catastrophically bad, that I cannot believe that the people weren't let go over it. Like the structure of the plot is so ridiculously bad, and I mean, to the point, because this is being brought up in the chat, is Suicide Squad. That's like the one DC property I have hope for, because I don't think Warner Brothers is going to care enough that maybe the filmmakers will be, you know, and it's not Zack Snyder, right? And I just cannot believe how poorly they've done. And it just feels like a reactionary mess. Watch the Doctor Strange trailer. Way better.
You've summed it up.
Yeah. So anyway, Cameron, if the chat is blowing up with everybody talking about this, so
yeah, it's great.
Anyway, Cameron, let's close this show because I know you got things to do, man. If someone would like to get a hold of you, where could they find you?
That's on Twitter at Cameron_McCoy.
And I am at Curtis Now. Our official show feed is at SpikeFeedMTG, and we will check you guys next week.